The connection today is actress Ginger Rogers. The film is Rafter Romance. A landlord, played by George Sidney, has two different people living in the same room, thus splitting the rent. The catch is that one of the tenants, played by Ginger Rogers, works during the day and the other, played by Norman Foster, works at night, which means they never interact and can have alone time in the room. They never actually meet each other, but through some antics, they end up despising one another. One day, Rogers and Foster meet, not realizing they live in the exact same room, and they start to fall in love. With a story like that, you might already know exactly what's going to happen, but it's about the journey, not the destination. The script is very clever. It isn't just a weird setup just to be different, there's some logic to it. You see, this was made during the early 30s, during the worst part of the Great Depression, so it was common for people to share one room together because most people couldn't afford to pay rent. So rooming with someone made sense economically. Not only that, but the misunderstandings that occur I genuinely didn't see coming, and I thought were pretty funny. There's some parts that reminded me of a Billy Wilder script, and no, he had nothing to do with this film, but in the movie Sunset Boulevard, the script that William Holden and Nancy Olson were writing is based off the premise to this film. And when I mean based, I mean the same basic idea. It's not an exact copy. This is one of Ginger Rogers' first films, but her makeup kind of disguises her. The look she has is more of a 1920s style that most women in movies had to seem alluring, so that's why it might be hard to recognize her at first. But it doesn't hinder her performance at all. I think she's really good. She honestly steals the film from Norman Foster. He still gives a good performance, but Rogers really knocks it out of the park. It's clear that she had a really strong career ahead of her. I also really like George Sidney as the landlord. Although he's clearly inconveniencing his tenants so he can make more money, you get the impression that he's genuinely a nice guy. It's nice not to see a mean, greedy landlord because we've seen that trope to death. The movie shows that even kind people can be greedy sometimes. That doesn't make him a bad guy, he's just flawed, and everyone has flaws. He can be funny at times too. Some of my favorite moments from this film are from him. I also have to mention Rogers' boss, played by Robert Benchley. He's goofy and definitely a womanizer, but Rogers doesn't put up with any of his antics, and has no problem embarrassing him in front of everybody. It's pretty funny and a little on the progressive side for the time. Believe it or not, this film was lost for a while. This film was one of the RKO 6. For those of you who don't know, in 1946, producer Marion C. Cooper, best known for producing King Kong and the Searchers, felt RKO hadn't given him the proper reparations for producing 6 films in RKO. The studio then sold the films to him, and Cooper kept them out of circulation. For years, no one knew what happened to these films. In 2007, Turner Classic Movies found, helped, restored, and broadcasted them to the public for the first time since their original release. I'm really glad they found this film because it's a touching love story that so easily could have failed. There was actually a remake of this film called Living on Love, which was another one of the RKO 6, and it was not very good. The actors didn't quite click, and the story changes they made it a little more cliche. This remake just proves what a great movie Rafter Romance was. Living on Love is the train wreck it could have been, but Rafter Romance was the clever, funny love story that caught my attention, and I'm sure it'll catch yours too.